Welcome to On the Firing Line on the information station, AM 1440 KUHL. Information, education, news, and politics of firearms and ammunition is found here. If you have any questions, call us at 1-888-625-1440. That's 1-888-625-1440.
Representative Leslie Combs, a Democrat, says she accidentally discharged a firearm in her legislative office in the Capitol Annex in Frankfort, Kentucky. Tuesday, this happened. In a statement obtained by CBS News Crime Cider, no one was injured in the incident, which was investigated by the Kentucky State Police Legislative Detail. Combs said she followed standard safety procedures when the accident occurred, and that the police found no evidence that any portion of the round traveled outside her office. She said she has a concealed carry permit, which she obtained several years ago. I strongly support our Second Amendment rights and our state's concealed carry law, and believe just as strongly that gun safety and education must be part of the equation, she said. I urge everyone to be extremely cautious with their firearm. I know from personal experience how easy it is to discharge a firearm accidentally. Concealed weapons are permitted in the Capitol Annex, where Combs' firearm discharged, but not in the Supreme Court room of the Capitol. Brian Wilkerson, communications director for the Office of Kentucky House Speaker, told Crime Cider.
That's office pop right there.
Office pop all the way. I hope everybody knows what that is.
You are on the firing line with Matt and Joe. Be a part of today's show by calling in at 1-888-625-1440, or if you're in the local Santa Maria area, give us a jingle at 928-1440. Wow, so she just had all kinds of quote-unquote accidental stuff happen there.
Well, I like she stuck right with the Democratic thing here and said the gun accidentally went off.
Yeah, she was following every safety procedure when the accident occurred.
And, of course, we gun owners know there are no accidental discharges.
Yeah, negligent, yes.
Yes. Oh, my God.
Oh, man. And, you know, yeah, this stuff does happen. You know, I'm not going to argue that. Things happen, but you have to take responsibility upon yourself, you know? I mean, you have to say, okay, I did it. The gun didn't malfunction when I pressed the trigger and the round went off.
No, the gun went off on its own. Yeah, it's got a mind of its own.
You know, they do what they're supposed to do. When you press the trigger, they go bang. So
bang.
You don't press the trigger until you're ready for that. And I'm willing to bet she was probably showing it off. Look, I conceal carry and, you know, put a new hole in the office.
Well, that's part of the standard safety procedures.
Is showing it off.
And having an accidental discharge, because obviously she was following him.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Wow.
And that just sets up, you know, I mean, all jokes aside, but it sets it up for such failure, you know. It's just like, oh, well, look what happened to this person. I mean, if the gun can be brought into the Capitol building and shot off, then anything can happen. And it's all because of somebody's negligence, and they're not even fessing up to it.
Take responsibility, absolutely. And think about who you're voting in for. Of course, in this state, we won't have to worry about her, but if you're in Kentucky and listening, think of this. Do you want that person in office anymore?
Writing your gun laws?
Wow. Speaking of which, today's show is going to be about politicians and their ill repute.
Dun, 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 dun.
or should we say, I
kind of like ill repute. Yeah, switch it up a little bit. But, yeah, you know, it just kind of goes to show these are the same people that are doing these absurd bills to try and ban firearms and stomp out the Second Amendment. And, you know, they kind of get up in front of the cameras and say, hey, we're perfect. But all you got to do is type in their name, and you pretty much start finding out that they're just another person, and sometimes they're far less of a person than we might hope.
Yes, and as it was put to me earlier today by a friend of ours, you know, these are the very people that write laws to govern us, and they expect us to live to a higher standard than them. And think about it in that step, because
that's a good point.
They're not following the law. They're not following their own guidelines. They don't think the guns are bad for them. They think their guns are bad for us.
Yep, exactly. It just brings me back, forget her name, but was it Caps?
Those Caps?
Those Caps she has a CCW. Is that the one?
No, actually with Milk.
Yes. Oh, man.
God, brain freeze.
Yep. But anyway,
okay, somebody give us a call and tell us what her name is.
She has a CCW, but she doesn't want the public to have one because it's not safe enough.
Absolutely.
That's the same type of guidelines that they're going off of, and it doesn't make any sense. And, you know, shall not be infringed. Again, we say this all the time. It's very clear.
Are you guys thinking of Feinstein?
Yes, we are thinking of Feinstein. There's our caller. He called right in.
Thank you, sir.
Senator Dianne Feinstein has had or does still have a CCW. And of course, she's the one, I think, that put her finger in the wound of Harvey Milk and said, yep, there's trouble.
Yep, he's bleeding.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and and we just see this stuff over and over again. So we wanted to talk about today, just like Joe said, some of the stuff, their faults. I mean, a lot of these people have some serious stuff stacked up against them when they're trying to make things better for public safety or make things, it's ultimately their agenda, let's face it.
And the agenda is crazy. You know what gets me is these people want a socialistic country. I don't want one.
No.
And look at Venezuela, what's happening down there right now. Oh, my God. You've got the military out there shooting people that they think are going to be protesters, going into people's homes and shooting them. And you can guarantee a lot of those people don't have any firearms to fight back with.
Yep.
Do you want your firearms taken away from you so that you can't fight back when the military comes to shoot you?
Yep. You know, the argument of having a bat is all good and dandy until the people in your house have rifles.
Absolutely. And for those of you who say that never happens in these times,
open your eyes.
Yeah, because it's all over the world.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back with you on the firing line with Matt and Joe to discuss more about politicians who have voted against our gun rights, but yet are criminals themselves.
Dun, 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 dun.
We'll be back to more of On the Firing Line with Joe and Jim after this.
This is On the Firing Line with Matt, Jim, and Joe. We will be right back with you on the firing line. If you have any questions, give us a call at 888-625-1440 or in the Santa Maria area, 928-1440. Don't forget, you can always listen in on am1440.com.
Tactical Guns and Gear is the Central Coast leader in tactical rifles, pistols, shotguns, and accessories. Building an AR-15, they have lower receivers, parts kits, trigger groups, and a ton of other AR parts from the most popular companies and stuff.
They are also the home of the Women's 101 Firearms and Women's Advanced Pistol classes and have trained thousands of local ladies.
The store is located off the 101 freeway in Santa Maria near the North Broadway exit. Look for the big rifle sign on the freeway as well as the giant 5-ton Tactical military truck, and they're now open on Mondays. America!
On the Firing Line is happy to have Law Offices of Christopher Coleman as a sponsor. The Law Offices of Christopher Coleman is located in Santa Barbara on 2019B State Street, specializing in personal injury and, more importantly, the Second Amendment and On the Firing Line with Matt and Joe. Give them a call at 805-682-3352, serving the Santa Barbara, Santa Maria, and San Luis Obispo areas for over 25 years.
Now a great word from Santa Maria Motorcycles, formerly Santa Maria Harley-Davidson, located at 2022 Prescott Lane. They are dealers for Honda, Kawasaki, and Harley-Davidson. Grab your family and go see the museum, filled with exciting older bikes that you won't see anywhere else on the Central Coast. As well, they are the #1 motorcycle dealer on the Central Coast with the largest inventory around. Go in and see Martin Buchanan, or you can give him a call at 805-928-3668. You can also go visit them every first Thursday of the month for Bike Night. Starts at 6 p.m. Have a great time with your family at Santa Maria Motorcycles.
We're happy to have a special guest here today at the Plumbing Talk Studios, Jeremy Griffin, owner of Griffin Plumbing in Orcutt. Welcome, Jeremy.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, Jeremy, the reason your plumbing company is called Griffin Plumbing is that your last name is, in fact, Griffin.
Yeah, that's right.
Unbelievable. Griffin, just like the legendary creature with the body of a lion and the wings of an eagle.
Yeah.
What a brilliant move, Jeremy.
I'm a genius.
To name your plumbing company after this majestic creature. A creature known not only to have divine power, but also to be a protector from all things evil.
Well, it is my last name.
Audience, listen carefully. If your plumbing devices are threatened in any way, I implore you to seek the power and protection of the Griffin.
We're always here to help. Just give us a call.
Call the Griffin.
Find us at callgriffinplumbing.com or call 934-1949.
You are on the Firing Line with Matt, Jim, and Joe. Be a part of today's show by calling in at 1-888-625-1440, or if you're in the local Santa Maria area, please give us a call at 928-1440. That's right. You are back on the firing line with Matt and Joe. Give us a call, 1-888-625-1440, or if you're in the Santa Maria area, 928-1440. So we're going to start talking about some very interesting people with some very interesting ideas who I guess have very interesting pasts and lives.
Very well put. Very well put. All right, so as Matt just said, these are a couple stories that should raise everybody's eyebrows and make us wonder about the anti-American, anti-gunners who want to tell us what's right and expect us to live by higher standards. First, we have Dwayne Ferguson. I'm sure some of you have already read about this. And Fergie?
The Fergie.
The Fergie.
The Ferg.
A Buffalo, New York community activist who is well known locally for pushing for highly restrictive 2013 gun control laws has been arrested. Wait for it. Nope, wait. Carrying a gun illegally at a public elementary school.
Nice.
The arrested gun control advocate, Dwayne Ferguson, caused quite a scene at Harvey Austin Elementary School at about 4:15 p.m. on Thursday. Police acted on an anonymous 911 tip. A battalion of cops quickly swarmed the school. The school was immediately placed on lockdown, and about 60 students who were still on campus participating in after-school activities were funneled to the cafeteria. Cops searched the school room by room and would not let parents on campus until they were satisfied that no shooting threat existed. Ferguson, 52, was at Harvey Elementary because he works as a mentor in the after-school program for disadvantaged students. He said he frequently carries a pistol. He has a license, but the license does not matter under the strict state law Ferguson helped pass. Yes, he helped pass the law. Among much else, the 2013 law deemed New York SAFE Act made it a felony to carry a gun on school property. This is a law that he helped pass, okay?
Yeah, nail in his foot.
Yeah. While it had previously been illegal to carry a gun on school grounds, the new law bumped the crime from a misdemeanor to a felony in response to the Sandy Hook Elementary school shooting. The community activist has claimed that he forgot he was carrying his gun in a felony gun-free zone he helped create.
Yeah, I wonder how many times a day police officers hear I forgot that I was carrying the gun.
Those are my pants.
Yeah.
I forgot that was in there.
That's not my car.
Yeah.
Of course I'm not driving my own car. So this guy, let's just quick overview. This guy enacts a law so people that have a CCW, pretty much, if they go on school campus, they get in more trouble. It was a misdemeanor, now it's a felony.
Yeah, anybody that travels on school grounds, anybody, not even just a CCW, but anybody.
Anybody, period, with a firearm. So fast forward, whatever, a few days down the line, and he decides to go there for this, safety program for these kids, or disadvantaged students program, excuse me. And he forgets that he has a gun on him. Isn't that kind of convenient?
Very. I just, that just gets the heck out of me. How many people forget that they have a gun on them? Okay, sometimes I've gotten out to the car and forgot that I still have my gun on me because I'm so used to having it on me. But as soon as I get there, I realize, hey, wait, whoops, gotta put this away.
Exactly. I mean, when you wear them all the time, yeah, you get used to it. It's just like if you wear a baseball hat or something. But it's a constant reminder. It's there. It's not something that you focus on repeatedly, but you're aware that you have it on your side or wherever it is.
Let alone to make a law, pass it stating you can't go on school grounds with a gun, and if you do, it's a felony, and take it there.
I wonder if he was just trying to see, if his law was, how well it was being enforced, his own law.
I guess he's finding out.
Yeah.
Because
apparently pretty well.
He's in trouble.
They had a battalion of cops swarm the school.
Yeah, I wonder who called 911.
Well, it said that there was a pair of anonymous 911 tips. So they just see
somebody
this guy.
knew he had a gun on him.
They're like, "There's that senator. I hate that guy." Somebody call the police.
These are the kind of people that make laws that bar us from doing certain things.
Yep.
Why is it that they don't have to follow the law?
Yeah.
Why is it that they find themselves so far removed from the rest of us that they don't have to do the same things we have to do?
And I think that's where they lose scope, that they are servants of the people, not vice versa.
Very well
they should
said.
be setting positive and good examples, especially for laws that they're signing and coming up with. They should have good examples of that.
This guy should be held to a higher standard, and the punishment should be severe for him because he knows. He 100% knows.
Oh yeah, I mean it's almost It's almost, it is kind of, it's a calamity. That's what it is. I mean,
or does he know? I mean, after all, Reverend James E. Giles, Ferguson's friend and the president of the Buffalo's Back to Basics Outreach Ministries, vouched for his claim. I'm sure Dwayne went into the school not thinking he had the gun on him. Giles told the Buffalo News. Giles and Ferguson even asked police on the scene what was going on. Dwayne's reaction was to get his kids, he had about 50 of them, and make sure they were safe. Giles explained. Ferguson was eventually busted when the police were patting down the people at the school so they could evacuate. He was wearing the gun in a holster throughout the duration of the terrifying lockdown, and the community activists never bothered to tell the cops that he was carrying a gun. He had...
See, that's where he knew that he had messed up. I mean... that's where I believe that he didn't forget it, because had he actually forgot and then went, oh, oops, I do have it.
I better tell somebody.
Yeah, I better tell somebody quick, especially if the police are showing up. But if you're doing it, and you know that you shouldn't be doing it, then that's when you're going to be quiet and trying to hide it from the police.
Very well.
If they would have, they shouldn't have had to find the weapon when they pat him down. That seems a little bit like he took it too far.
Yeah, you know what? When you have a CCW, number one, if you're confronted by the police or have an incident where you have to talk with the police,
yes,
you're immediately supposed to notify them that you have a firearm and that you have a concealed weapons permit.
And it's not a big deal.
No.
They just say, okay, thanks for telling me.
Yeah, most of the time that tells them right off the bat, okay, he's one of the good guys. He's already been cleared and gone through all kinds of background checks.
Yeah. So that right there indicates to me that he had something to hide.
So he's obviously moved into the bad guy side.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dang, join the dark side here. All right. He had opportunities, local chief of police Kevin Brinkworth told the News. I will say he had no ill intent to harm these students, Brinkworth noted. I don't know why he had it on him. Ferguson now faces 2 felony charges of criminal gun possession for a law that he passed. He faced his first court hearing on Friday, and prosecutors had asked Judge Janet Ogden to set bail at $10,000. However, Ogden allowed Ferguson to walk out of her courtroom on his own recognizances, citing his community involvement and his squeaky clean criminal record.
Until now,
yeah.
So that's a perfect example of the stupidity that goes into, and the lack of thought that goes into these laws. I mean, and I get the school one, I guess. You don't want I mean, I just remember as a kid, even when law enforcement would come talk to the kids, they wouldn't have their pistol on. And I always kind of thought that was weird, but they didn't have it. However, if you have a CCW, and you should, I guess this is a lot of debate since Sandy Hook. But I do think there should be at least a teacher, if not teachers, in the school that have the ability to have an armed response to something.
I believe the same thing. I think that that's the only way we're going to be able to protect our children or give them the fighting chance to protect our children.
Yeah.
Because if you have to wait for police to respond to something that takes 5 or 10 minutes and then they get to the outside of the school and they have to determine what they're going to do, get their gear together to be able to do a quick confrontation or try to engage the person before SWAT can even set up. You know what? This is what we need. And if we have politicians fighting against this, our politicians are fighting against the very needs of our children and us.
Absolutely, totally. We're not saying that they need to put an AK-47 on the flag of the school or something, but
just put it in a glass case, break me if needed.
Yeah, something like that, yes. But it just seems like it would be, I don't know, it makes sense to me to have it if this person's responsible enough,
Wow.
Because obviously they're going to bring him on anyway.
Right. It just gets me. This guy made the law, he broke it, and now he's going to go to jail for it.
Yeah.
In a way, the irony is perfect, but
it really is. And it just it goes to show these guys, and these are the same people that hold the public to higher standards. And if it was somebody like myself who did this, I'd be getting in a heck of a lot more trouble than being released on OR because of my community service.
Oh God, same here.
Yeah, so it's just obviously it's favoritism. There's a lot of things going into this, and I don't really agree with most of them.
This is not the way it should have been handled, in my opinion, based on the information that I have at hand.
Yep, well said.
Oh gosh.
Well played, sir.
He's not the only one out there that does crazy things, okay? How many of you out there have heard of Ronald Calderon?
Oh, that guy's awesome.
Oh, my gosh. Ronald Calderon actually has a record of voting against fire or voting for anti-gun laws. To kind of give you an example, he voted for SB 374 here in California, which prohibits semi-automatic rifles with detachable magazines. He voted for that law.
Yeah, that was the one that, probably 6 months back, not even. I mean, the whole state of California was going bonkers because they thought that AR-15s and things like that type of weapon were going to be done.
Right.
And that was ruled unconstitutional.
Right.
So that kind of shows you the direction he's headed.
He also voted for a list that expands the crimes that disqualify an individual from owning a firearm. Okay? And it doesn't stop there. He also voted yes for a law that prohibits lead ammunition from hunting, AB 711.
Which makes no sense.
You know, we're facing these laws and we're having to follow them as we sit here today, most of them.
Exactly.
Some of them, thank God, were vetoed. But the list doesn't stop there. He also voted for prohibition on semi-automatic rifles with detachable magazines.
Bullet buttons.
That would be your AR-15s?
AR-15s, AK-47s, all kinds.
Ranch rifles.
Ruger Mini 14s.
Yes, doesn't even have a pistol grip, doesn't have any of the evil
features. But it
features.
has a that would make it a Ruger 1022. Because that has a detachable magazine.
Unbelievable.
I mean, most 9-year-olds in the world have one of those.
This guy also voted for the requiring of background checks for the purchases of ammunition.
Oh, come on.
This is Calderon, Ronald Calderon. He's right here in California, everybody. There's 2 more laws that he's passed that we must bring up, okay?
Yep, absolutely.
Expanding loaded firearm restrictions. In other words, where you can have a loaded firearm and what you can do with it and whatnot.
That's the one. Was that where they were kind of saying even in your house?
Right.
If you have it, it has to be in a safe. I
Yeah.
mean, which is ridiculous. If it's in your house, who cares if you have them in every room?
Somehow he didn't follow the Heller case.
No, apparently not.
Now, this next law has a lot of controversy that's hitting us all right now.
Yep.
He voted yes for this law and wanted it passed, and it passed. Micro-stamping of bullets fired from semi-automatic handguns. This gentleman, Ronald Calderon, out of Los Angeles, voted yes for that law. And that law has now circumvented our right by keeping us from getting firearms that are being manufactured, new firearms, because if it doesn't have the technology, it's not getting on the roster of handguns certified for California, for sale in California.
And from most of the things that I've looked at, the micro-stamping technology isn't there yet. You know, I mean, it would cost the companies so much to get it, and because it's so ill-efficient so far, that it's just not feasible.
It's not. Now, we tell you all these laws that he's helped to pass, but wait until you hear the flip side of this story, okay? Los Angeles, Ronald Calderon, a member of the California State Senate, has agreed to surrender to federal authorities after being named in a federal grand jury indictment that accuses him of taking tens of thousands of dollars in bribes from a businessman and from people who were associated with a Hollywood film studio who were in actuality undercover FBI agents.
Awesome.
Ronald S. Calderon, 56 out of Montebello, is charged in a 24-count indictment that was returned late yesterday by a federal grand jury with mail fraud, wire fraud, honest services fraud, bribery, conspiracy to commit money laundering, and aiding in the filing of false tax returns.
Isn't that what Al Capone got arrested for?
Actually, I think you're right.
Just saying.
The indictment also charges Thomas M. Calderon, 59, also of Montebello, who is Ronald's brother and a former member of the California State Assembly. Along with his brother, Thomas Calderon is charged in the money laundering conspiracy and with 7 substantive counts of money laundering. Tom Calderon self-surrendered after being informed of the indictment and is expected to be arraigned in the United States District Court.
Wow. So between the two of them, that's 31 court indictments that they have.
Right. And these are the guys that passed gun laws against us.
Yeah, these are the ones that think it's a good
Criminals.
idea not to have modern firearms.
Who wants our guns taken away from us?
Criminals.
Criminals.
Yeah.
Why? So they can keep doing their criminal activities.
Yeah, yeah. And so many times we've proved that, an armed population tends to have less crime than an unarmed population. But, these guys with their thick domes aren't getting it.
Nope. And you know what? The story gets worse. You got to listen to the rest of this because you're going to be, this angers me.
Flabbergasted.
Yes. The indictment describes the scheme in which Ron Calderon allegedly solicited and accepted approximately $100,000 in cash bribes, as well as plane trips, gourmet dinners, and trips to golf resorts, in exchange for official acts, such as supporting legislation that would be favorable to those who paid the bribes and opposing legislation that would be harmful to them.
$100,000 in bribes and other things.
To help get laws passed.
I mean, that's...
You know what?
What happened when he put his hand on that book and, swore that oath?
Absolutely.
Was there a money sign on it? Was that what he was daydreaming about?
Uphold the Constitution, protect the people, and
uphold the
everything else?
Constitution of money? I mean...
What a Constitution.
Yeah, that's all this guy seems to care about.
Kind of gives me a Constitution.
Yeah, the other thing.
Okay, the indictment further alleges that Ron Calderon attempted to convince other public officials to support and oppose legislation. Public corruption is a betrayal of the public trust that threatens the integrity of our democratic institutions, said United States Attorney Andre Birote Jr. Senator Calderon is accused of accepting tens of thousands of dollars in bribes and using the powers of elected office to enrich himself and his brother Tom, rather than for the benefit of the public he was sworn to serve. Now this is it. This guy took bribes. Mm-hmm. How many of the gun laws was he bribed for? How many of the gun laws did he go and talk other politicians into voting for?
Yeah, I can, the Brady campaign or whatever knocks on his door and says, if you lean this way,
on the slide, this brown bag, you get some cash.
Yeah, maybe this $20,000 could be left in your garage when I take off. I mean, I can just see it happening.
You like that new refrigerator?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's evil.
It is evil. And I'll tell you what, any of these laws that he's ever voted on should be re-voted on again.
Yeah.
Any of the politicians that were associated with him should seriously be put under scrutiny.
Well, it's just like in a court case, if it comes and they find out that somebody was being swayed or bribed or was being scared into going one way, it gets thrown out and retried.
Right.
Why don't they do that with
this? Is where it should be.
This stuff's a little bit more serious. This affects everybody.
Micro-stamping of bullets fired on semi-automatics.
And it's not even bullets they're trying to microstamp, so they can't even word it right.
This is ridiculous. This needs to have another look taken at it. We need to find out what other representatives were swayed by him, did receive money, because I'm sure there's stuff on the side that nobody can even talk about because it's just pure speculation.
Yeah. And we need to put them up too.
Let the tinfoil hat speculations come out when they're on our side.
Yeah, it always goes that way.
We've got to stop and take a look at this. This just angers the heck out of me. And you know what? He's not the only politician that's ever done something like this.
Well, of course not.
When it's affecting our Second Amendment right, which helps protect all of our other rights.
Drastically affecting also.
Yes. I mean,
because these are the laws, these are the things that are being passed over the past few years that have created such an uproar, especially here in California. People being worried about the ammunition taxes and stuff, the lead ammunition, which, is for condors. But it's been proven, or disproven, I should say. It's been dispelled many times. Everything from micro-stamping. You can't have detachable magazine. It does not make sense.
Nope.
Other than the money part that he got in his pocket.
I wouldn't be surprised if Governor Brown, when he vetoed most of these bills, knew on the flip side that something was going on.
Something was awry. Yeah,
and he
probably
wanted to separate himself from it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just pure speculation.
But that makes sense. Because I remember when Brown vetoed those, how surprised we were.
Yes.
And it would take something like this, something kind of, I'm going to call these bribes left field, but something out of left field like these bribes that would push him in the direction, because he already had steam going for the anti-gun stuff. Obviously that's what he's after. So for him to say, no, go ahead, and I mean, obviously they're delaying it, but I think you're right. This has definitely had to do with his decision-making.
This is the kind of stuff that's news that we should be hearing about on CNN, on Fox, and every other news station. But I don't remember hearing much about this.
Justin Bieber's much better news.
Oh, God.
That's all I see.
But who cares about some punk that's getting arrested?
Right, or all that crap. I mean, we need to get back to the Constitution. We need to get back to America.
Oh, my Lord.
Lordy.
Yes, I wanted to test the 8-button delay, but we did not.
Not this time, Dave.
Scott's over here looking at us going, I've got my finger right on the button. Don't you dare. All right. Bill Lewis, the assistant director in charge of the FBI's Los Angeles field office, stated, "Corruption victimizes each and every one of us. The indictment alleges Mr. Calderon traded influence for cash in the 30th District and beyond." You know, it says it right there. Alleges Mr. Calderon traded influence for cash. So, yes, there are other people involved from this statement.
Yep.
Okay? In addition to robbing us of taxpayer money, corrupt practices rob us of trust in government. Boy, isn't that the truth. In the first part of the bribery scream, Ron Calderon allegedly took bribes from Michael Drobot, the former owner of Pacific Hospital in Long Beach, a major provider of spinal surgeries, which were often paid by workers' compensation programs. California law allowed the hospital to pass on to insurance companies the full cost it had paid for medical hardware it used during spinal surgeries. In another case filed this morning, Drobot admitted that his hospital exploited this law, which was often called the spinal pass-through, by using hardware that had been purchased at highly inflated prices from companies that Drobot controlled and passing this cost along to insurance providers.
Don't mean to interrupt you, but that reminds me of in the 90s and 80s, the $600 gold toilet seats at the White House and the $900 hammers.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same exact veil that they put up for this type of thing. They're gonna hold it up, say that it's worth X amount of money when it only costs a fraction of that to produce, and I know that's how people make money, but when they go ridiculous with it, that's when this becomes a problem.
These kind of actions reaffirm the commitments of the justice system.
Yes.
Okay, and it's good to see that they are in the pursuit of justice, and that something was done, because this could have kept on going.
Yeah, they could have bribed somebody else to shut up.
Yeah, absolutely. Public officials hold a position of trust, and those who commit bribery, tax fraud, and other crimes, take note. You're going to be hunted down, and you're going to be prosecuted at every turn you make. And those of you people out there that say you want a different America and a socialist America, and you do things like this, dude, you are a traitor to this country.
Yep.
100%.
And chances are, if that's how you feel, and you're lucky enough to have maybe your grandparents around still, maybe ask your grandpa and grandma what they think about your ideas. People that have lived through World War II and all these hard times, see what they think about your ideas of changing the country that way.
Unbelievable. Once this man is a felon, he'll never be able to own a gun again if he's convicted on any of these, if he even owns a gun.
He was probably carrying somebody else's gun.
Of course, he can always hire other people with guns to protect him.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this guy's facing 160 years in prison, and this is the kind of person that is out there making laws for us. We have to keep these kind of things in mind. Calderon is definitely somebody that we should be out and look for. His brother was obviously somebody who's been doing it too, and for all we know, was the person that taught him when he got into office.
Yeah.
So there's a whole list of people out there, and it's kind of funny it's on the Democratic side. On the Republican side, when people get busted like this, they step down.
Yeah, I don't want to call it honor, but at least it's fessing up to what they've done. Kind of like we were talking about before. Okay, I goofed. I'm going to, I'll punish myself. I will no longer do this. But these guys are just blatantly fighting it, kicking and screaming and lying all the way down.
As soon as he was indicted, he should have gone out and had a press conference. And if he really did do this, because you're right, he's going to lie and fight this all the way through. He's going to probably plead innocent.
Oh, yeah.
And if he's guilty, he's wasting even more of our tax money, and he should have to pay every cent of that back.
Yeah, and that's not what the voters voted in. Not at all. I guarantee we did not vote in somebody who was going to be a liar and deceiving and crooked and steal money from us. That's not the kind of people that we want upholding our laws, or for this guy's sake, writing our laws.
Right. But you know what? He's not the only politician out there on the other side that's been doing this kind of stuff against us. Crime rate among anti-gun politicians are extremely high and rising. This by Dan Cannon. According to the Fox News, prosecutors in the state of New York have announced 2 arrests of sitting state politicians in 3 days. Wow. Both broke the law to benefit themselves. Over the last 8 years, 11 New York state senators have been charged with crimes. New York currently ranks the worst for corruption at the state government level. Which states come in second and third? I'll give you two guesses. California and Illinois have those honors.
Yeah.
Who votes these people in?
And it's of course it's California and Illinois. It's Chicago and all of California.
What California's the Golden State? It could never happen here.
No, not once.
So the top 3 most corrupt state governments in the country, based on the number of its elected officials who were arrested, are New York, California, and Illinois. What else do these 3 states have in common? They are the 3 of the strictest states in the country when it comes to gun control.
Yeah. I know it's gotta be a clue, as they say.
Yeah. Coincidence? I think not.
There are none.
It only makes sense that corrupt politicians would want to have a disarmed populace to flee or fleece. The corruption of anti-gun politicians doesn't stop at the state level, though. Anti-gun mayors seem to be having just as many problems recently, with numerous members of anti-gunner Michael Bloomberg's Mayors Against Illegal Guns organization being arrested on various crimes. Note, most of these mayors are immediately removed from the organization's roster upon arrest. I wonder what the overall crime rate of, let's say the NRA is compared to these state legislators.
Yeah, because, most of the people in the NRA, by default, own rifles. It is the National Rifle Association. If you're going to own rifles, you got to keep your nose clean. If you have those marks against you, you're not going to be able to own those tools. So that's a very, very good point. I would like to see that too.
I would too. I really think that it's a terrible thing that we, the people of these 3 states, cannot recognize that when people try to make laws like this that circumvent your rights, agendas are afoot.
Yeah, because what else would it be, really? Of course, and yes, everybody has their agenda, but you got to make sure that when you're looking at these people that they're going on the right path, because there's lots of forks in the road, and it seems like they're always taking the path of least resistance, whether it's the hardest way or the easiest way.
I think that any groups that they've been associated with, any of these people in the groups they've been associated with, I repeat, should be separated from the rest of us. We should not allow them to participate. And I'll guarantee you, on my gut feelings, that the Brady Foundation is somewhere in there.
Oh yeah,
and the groups just like that are somewhere in there.
Oh yeah, I mean I can practically taste it. Just the whole handing them over a briefcase with their agenda in that briefcase. Here, do this.
It's a very strong possibility.
Pat them on the back, and hey, your helicopter will pick you up at 3. Just sign right here.
These are the kind of people that get to push things through. This is ridiculous. When do we get to stand up and really be heard as a voice?
Yep. And that should be voting season. That's what we've been led to believe anyway. But apparently we've been led astray.
God, it's funny. Today on my way here to the radio shop, I saw this car with a couple in it, and right on the back it said Hillary Clinton 2016.
Oh man!
I wanted so bad to scream out the window, "How do you like Benghazi?"
Yeah.
But
no, yeah, I mean, but see, I guarantee you that people have that sticker don't even think about things like that.
No.
They're just thinking, oh, she's so great, this, but when when you're on one side, you only see one side of it. When you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
That's pretty good. Truth darts being flown left and right here today. All right. We should probably take a quick break. When we come back, we have another article that's going to be about Massachusetts and how people really like following their new laws. Mm-hmm. We'll be right back with you on the firing line with Matt and Joe.
You're listening to On the Firing Line on the information station.
This is On the Firing Line with Matt, Jim, and Joe. We'll be right back with you on the firing line. If you have any questions, give us a call at 888-625-1440 or in the Santa Maria area, 928-1440. Don't forget, you can always listen in on am1440.com.
Tactical Guns and Gear is the Central Coast leader in tactical rifles, pistols, shotguns, and accessories. Building an AR-15, they have lower receivers, parts kits, trigger groups, and a ton of other AR parts from the most popular companies and stuff.
They are also the home of the Women's 101 Firearms and Women's Advanced Pistol classes and have trained thousands of local ladies.
The store is located off the 101 freeway in Santa Maria near the North Broadway exit. Look for the big rifle sign on the freeway as well as the giant 5-ton Tactical military truck, and they're now open on Mondays. America!
On the Firing Line is happy to have Law Offices of Christopher Coleman as a sponsor. The Law Offices of Christopher Coleman is located in Santa Barbara on 2019B State Street, specializing in personal injury and, more importantly, the Second Amendment and On the Firing Line with Matt and Joe. Give them a call at 805-682-3352, serving the Santa Barbara, Santa Maria, and San Luis Obispo areas for over 25 years.
On the air with the Midnight Mystic is one of our regular callers, truck driver Charlie.
Well, I just seen another one, Midnight Mystic.
Another Griffin, Charlie?
I'm telling you, they're all over the Central Coast now.
How long have you been on the road now, Charlie?
2, 5, 8 weeks, I don't know.
Perhaps you should park the truck and get some sleep, and maybe the Griffins will disappear.
Well, there it is again. I'm going after it.
What does it look like, Charlie?
Holy mackerel. It's got the body of a lion and the head of an eagle.
Is it flying, Charlie?
It's on the side of a white truck.
Is it a Griffin plumbing truck, Charlie?
Could be. I don't know. I'm pulling right up to it.
We seem to have lost contact with Charlie, but I'm sure he'll be okay because Griffins, just like the good folks at Griffin Plumbing, are here to protect and serve. In fact, if your plumbing devices are threatened in any way,
Call the Griffin.
Find us at callgriffinplumbing.com or call 934-1949.
You are on the Firing Line with Matt, Jim, and Joe. Be a part of today's show by calling in at 1-888-625-1440, or if you're in the local Santa Maria area, please give us a call at 928-1440. That's right, you are on the Firing Line with Matt and Joe, and looks like we have a caller on line 1.
How you doing today?
Hey, guys, this is one of your sponsors, Chris.
Excellent. Chris, how you doing?
What's happening?
Hey, dudes. Anyway, I just wanted to not get you off topic, but see what the local reaction has been to that Peruta decision from the Ninth Circuit last week.
You know, that's a very interesting one. We're kind of waiting to see what happens. We're really hoping that because San Diego, I think, has a new Republican in charge down there. That
they just elected a Republican mayor a couple weeks ago.
Right. If he can get them to just kind of leave it alone, that would be fantastic for all of us, because then I think the law is permanently changed. Well, not permanently, but changed for us here in California, and it should open it up. I have seen where a couple of police departments have changed their policies already in the state of California to abide by the new law or the new ruling, because it doesn't just affect the county there, it affects all of California, as how it was described in the brief.
Well, the Ninth Circuit affects not only California, but Hawaii and Nevada and several western states.
Right.
Yep. But it is conflicted, but I'm just because I don't know, I don't have a CCW permit, but I'm just wondering what you guys have heard in the shop and in the store and on the streets and on the show about what experiences people are having with that.
Well, it seems like everybody is getting a little bit ahead of themselves. People are coming into the shop and kind of just saying, I'd like to get my CCW. Can I take my CCW class? And, we don't offer that stuff, and we're not there yet,
Although, you know what? It's going to take change of policy within our police departments. I've called Santa Maria Police Department. I'm waiting for a call back from one of the officers, Officer Dunn, from the Santa Maria Department. We also have another call in to the Santa Barbara Sheriffs. I haven't received any call back, and we're continuing to call them to see if we can get any change or to see what how they're going to go about this. The one thing is San Diego Sheriff does have the ability still to take this up in front of an 11-man panel, with the through that district. So
through the Ninth Circuit, it's called an in-bank hearing. It's
exactly.
all the judges on the panel. Although I just read on the internet he's declined to probably do that.
Awesome.
But there are different opinions in different circuit courts about this, so it may end up in the Supreme Court.
That's why I'm hoping that the Republican who's down there in San Diego that's been elected in will kind of just let it go there, and we won't push it any further, because right now we're protected on our side of the United States. You're right, though. If this goes to the Supreme Court and it does get pushed, because there is such a difference of opinion on the Second Amendment between those different courts, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I really hope that they uphold this. And it's like I've said before, once they killed our open carry, they really shot themselves in the foot, because we do have, through past court cases, the right to arm ourselves, and they cannot bar both forms.
Right,
but,
you're talking about the Heller case.
Absolutely. While that does kind of regulate inside the home, I believe also even past courts decisions, even back farther into the 1800s, show that they can't block all forms of carry, and that's it.
Well, I think what the Ninth Circuit, and I actually know that court a little bit, was trying to say is it invests too much discretion in the local county sheriff in our 58 counties in California as to who gets to carry and why they get to carry. And if they're a law-abiding citizen with no felonies or no big problems, and they want a weapon for self-defense, they ought to be able to have one.
That should be good cause enough right there.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yep. I totally agree with you. Hey,
anyway, I want you guys to keep on this issue, because it's down here in Santa Barbara, where I'm from. It's a big topic of conversation at lunches and cocktail hour. People are very interested in it.
Good. Well, I hope you're out there spreading the word, pushing them in the right direction.
And also, thank you very much for supporting this show. You know, it's without people like you out there, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing here, and I really appreciate that.
Yep, it's really awesome.
All right, guys. Well, you're doing a great job. Carry on, and we'll talk to you soon.
You got it.
Right.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
It's fantastic.
Yep, that was Chris Coleman. He has the law firm that sponsors the show, so it was actually nice for him to call and give us a little insight on the Ninth Circuit.
It's funny, we were just talking about him before the show, too.
Yep.
You know, we were also talking about another Coleman who's in another country right now.
Yeah, my cousin, if you're listening, Michael, my cousin was in a bad wreck on a motorcycle, a moped in Thailand. So he's kind of banged up over there for a few months. So anyway, buddy, hope you get back quick and a speedy recovery.
Absolutely. And hey, if you get the chance, find out what some of the laws are like there in Thailand.
Yeah.
And maybe when you come back, or even next week, if you're still there, you can call us up and kind of talk to us and see what the mindset is out there and what they think about their gun laws, maybe compared to what we have here in the States.
Yeah, it's always very interesting to see how much it varies from the world. It's one place, but it varies so much from country to country.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that'd be very interesting. So hang in there, Michael, and we'll talk to you soon.
I've got this one last article that we've got to hit. This one is very interesting to me. Okay, politicians can make laws, but without law enforcement to back them up, the laws mean nothing.
Yeah, it's no.
Without the people here to follow the law means nothing, unless they want to arrest and put us all in jail.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Something like that has happened. Just a foot on how illogical sometimes these anti-gunners think, okay? Wow. This is an archive for logic, an anti-gunner's worst nightmare tag. We're going to need more cages. Connecticut has a gun problem. It's estimated that perhaps scores of thousands of Connecticut residents failed to register their military-style assault weapons with the state police by December 31st. Although willful noncompliance with the law is doubtless a major issue, it is possible that many gun owners are unaware of the obligation to register military-style assault weapons and would do so if given another chance. But the bottom line is that the state must try to enforce the law. I like that, try. Authorities should use the background check database as a way to find assault weapon purchasers who might not have registered those guns in compliance with the new law. A Class D felony calls for a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison and a $5,000 fine. Even much lesser penalties or probation would mar a heretofore clean record and would adversely affect, say, the ability to have a pistol permit. If you want to disobey the law, you should be prepared to face the consequences. Now let's consider the logistics of what the author is advocating. It's estimated that tens of thousands of Connecticut gun owners failed to comply with the new assault weapon registrations. The author wants Connecticut law enforcement agents to use the background check system to discover who may own an assault weapon and have them kidnapped and held in a cage for 5 years, i.e. prison.
Yeah,
okay?
Kidnapped. Awesome.
Connecticut already has overcrowded prisons, so new facilities would have to be constructed. Now, back in 1995, the Connecticut General Assembly responded to a request to know the cost associated with building new prison capacity. The cost per bed in Connecticut at that time was estimated to be about $50,000.
Wow.
Using a very conservative estimate of 20,000 non-compliant gun owners, since there are multiple tens of thousands, I went with the lowest possible figure of 20,000. And in 1995 prices to build new cages, because that's the most recent information we have or been able to obtain, the state of Connecticut would be looking at paying out $1 trillion just to add the capacity necessary to cage all of these gun owners. Against this figure is a lowball figure. Again, a lowball figure. Since the cost of constructing a new cage is higher than in 1995 and the number of non-compliant gun owners likely exceeds 20,000, but we get the idea that the cost of doing so, as the author recommends, would be a mind-boggling high. And what would Connecticut get out of spending over $1 billion to enforce its new law? Not a darn thing. Merely being in possession of an aesthetically offensive semi-automatic rifle doesn't make an individual violent. The satisfaction that could be obtained from doing what the author advocates is vengeance against the disobedient. If we want to go down that route, I'm sure we can find several felonies the author committed in the last week and demand he be caged for them.
Yep.
You know, that's crazy. And these anti-gunners, they don't think about this.
No.
Their job is to make our state better. And it falls right in line with the ruling of the Ninth Circuit.
Yeah.
These politicians that try to ban these things are not thinking about how they're spending our money to make these unconstitutional laws and to circumvent our Second Amendment right.
Right. And you know, the well-being of the public is not extracting that much money. I mean, that is so absurd. And it wouldn't just be the money. I mean, it would be, they'd be making, like we've said before, criminals out of law-abiding citizens with a snap of the finger, basically, overnight. And it says it right here, aesthetically offensive.
Right.
That just means, you know, and I've heard people say that, like, you know, they'll come in and say, so which one of these ones is the rifle that was going to be banned? And I'll point at an AR-15. And the next thing they say is that just because it looks so scary? And I just don't see that. I mean, maybe it's because I'm around them all the time, but I
so
mean,
if it was pink, it wouldn't be scary. It'd be cute.
No, that would be scary. But I mean, what? So what? A 12-gauge shotgun isn't scary? I think it's pretty scary.
Hey, I've heard one police officer, tell me that a person with a shotgun and slugs can hold off a battalion.
Yeah,
as long as he has ammo and he's not tired.
Yeah, so I mean, shotguns are devastating. They're great home defense weapons, but. So, yeah, it's definitely more, at close range, it's a much more brutal weapon than, say, an AR-15. I guess the AR-15 has that, quote, menacing look. I just don't see it.
Well, it's...
Maybe I'll
this is the mentality, though. But you know what? Past all this, forget the weapon. It's about us, the people. Are we all violent and we got a gun, we're going to go out and kill everybody?
Well, that's just like I have hands. Am I going to make a fist and punch you just because I can? It's the same idea, you know. Oh, but you know,
throw rocks.
Exactly, throw rocks, burn churches, all that stuff.
Right. This is the mentality that's gotten so out of hand. It's almost like they're searching for something to talk about, something to feel like they're on a crusade, when there's better things out there to fight for.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, they're putting their hand up on the ladder and they're just kind of swiping air. You know, I mean, that's all they're getting out of it. And
I saw a sticker on somebody's car the other day that said, peace.
Peace.
And I was thinking, peace. Grab a gun, and you'll have it.
Yeah. Well, it's
peace. What keeps peace?
It's like my old license plate holder. Gun rights equals civil rights.
Amen.
And people used to get upset at me because I had that on the vehicle.
But it's the truth.
But it is so true. I mean, yeah. It's just like when you call the cops. Why do you call police? What does he have that you don't have? You know, he has a firearm and the ability to use it. Or at least, you know, different.
You do too.
You do too. Exactly. I guess. Legally, I guess it's kind of a misconception right there. It even got me.
We have been so brainwashed to be so afraid to use a firearm to protect ourselves or to stand up for ourselves.
Yep.
I mean, heck, our kids nowadays, if they stand up against the bully, both of them get expelled from school or sent home from school. The bully and the guy that defended himself.
That's a good point, and that's happened. I've seen that happen all the time. I mean, even 10 years ago when I was still in school, that's how it was. And you would see these smaller kids and they'd get beat up and maybe they'd had enough one day, throw a punch, and now they're out of there.
Right.
And so that's building the victim society.
And that's where it stands. More Truth Darts from On the Firing Line with Matt and Joe. Have a great weekend, everybody.